Okay, first things first, I'd like to thank really that warm welcome, Hampton Academy, our community for welcoming Wreaths Across America Convoy, our Gold Star family mothers, our Gold Star family members, our Blue Star family members, and really everybody here that is associated or has served with the United States military. So thank you again for being here. I'd like to start the ceremony off with a minute of silence. Please move your covers, and we shall remember those that are loved ones that we've lost. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for the national anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What so proudly
like to introduce Pastor Tim Lewis of the New England Shores Baptist Church to lead us in the invocation.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for those who have dedicated their lives and their personal freedoms for the defense and protection of our great country. While we can never repay them for their service, we ask for your help in keeping the memory of these veterans alive and strong. We are not here this day to honor their deaths. We're here to celebrate their lives. We renew our pledge this day to remember our fallen and their families. We honor those who serve by not having an annual ceremony, but by teaching our children that freedom is not free, and every stone has a story. We ask you to bless and protect our active military and reserves as they stand in the gap for the defense of liberty. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please sit down. Let's give Kim Marino and the Hampton chorus one more round of applause. That was outstanding. Hampton Police Chief Richie Sawyer will now join us and read the Town of Hampton Proclamation.
A proclamation, Wreaths across America. Whereas the town of Hampton has always honored the sacrifices of men and women in the armed forces of the United States of America, and whereas Wreaths Across America was formed to make sure that we remember the blood sacrifices of the members of our armed forces in securing freedom, liberty for our fellow Americans. And whereas Wreaths Across America seeks to honor our fallen patriots by the proper decoration of their final resting places during Christmas of each year. And whereas Wreaths Across America has honored the town of Hampton, New Hampshire by visiting our community, conducting ceremonies in remembrance of the Hampton and New Hampshire military heroes of our armed forces. And whereas we, the people of Hampton, New Hampshire, wish to express our sincere gratitude to Wreaths Across America for their great efforts, often in personal sacrifice, in rededicating all of us to the final sacrifice made by our fellows in securing our freedom. And whereas the people of Hampton wish that the sacrifices of so many in our armed forces never be forgotten through the efforts of Wreaths Across America. Now, therefore, I, the town manager, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, the town of New Hampton, New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim the month of December to be Wreaths Across America month for the honors that they give to our military heroes. In testimony whereof, we have hereunto set our hands this 10th day of December in the year of our Lord 2018, 380th year of incorporation of the town of Hampton, 340th year of the founding of New Hampshire, and 243rd year of independence of the United States of America. Board of Selectmen, Town of Hampton.
Bobby Graham, Special Assistant to Senator Maggie Hassan, will now read us a letter from Senator Maggie Hassan.
Hello, everyone. My boss is sorry that she couldn't make it today, but she has sent this letter. Dear friends, I regret that I cannot be with you today for the Hampton Wreaths Across America ceremony, but I thank you for organizing today's event, and I join you in honoring all of our service members, veterans, and their families. Today we come together and join fellow Americans across our great nation and at Arlington National Cemetery to pay tribute to our veterans and our service members. We lay wreaths at this hallowed ground where thousands of Granite Staters who have served and their loved ones are laid to rest, honoring each branch of the military as well as prisoners of wars and those missing in action. The wreaths laid here demonstrate our steadfast dedication to ensuring that we never forget the sacrifices made by the brave service members and those that remain unaccounted for. We owe them a debt of gratitude that we can never truly be repaid, but a debt that we must always strive to honor. We must also recommit ourselves to the values of veterans that have fought for and to ensuring that our country is ever worthy of their sacrifices. Once again, thank you to the town of Hampton and to all of the veterans, service members, and families here today. Happy holidays, and may God bless you, the Granite State, and the United States of America. With every good wish, Maggie Hassan, United States Senator. Thank you.
I'd now like to present the professional firefighters of New Hampshire Pipes and Drums. our ceremony to honor and remember our fallen heroes, we'd like to take the opportunity provided by this gathering to recognize one of our living heroes. I would like to introduce Donna Swanson, the New Hampshire State Coordinator of the Quilts of Valor Foundation. The Quilts of Valor Foundation's mission is to recognize all service members and veterans touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us to be here today. The Quilts of Valor Foundation is a national organization founded in 2003 by Blue Star Mother Catherine Roberts. The first Quilt of Valor was awarded at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in November of that year, and as of today, over 206,000 quilts have been awarded. All of the quilts are made by volunteers, and each is as unique as the individuals who created them and the person who receives them. No two are exactly alike. The Quilts of Valor Foundation represents one human being reaching out and touching another without judgment, reaching out with acceptance and with an acknowledgement of service to our nation. And as Lieutenant Colonel Antonio said, our mission is to cover service members and veterans touched by war with a comforting and healing quilt of valor. Today we will honor two gentlemen who have been nominated to receive a quilt of valor. Both are Marine Corps combat veterans who have been deployed in support of our nation's conflicts around the world. Though each of them is retired, they have made the commitment to teach and guide our next generation of Marines, setting an example for citizenship, patriotism, and leadership. Michael, you're already here. Mario Real, will you please join me? This is your quilt. And finally, this quilt is meant to comfort you and remind you that you are forever in our thoughts and prayers. Each quilt of valor is formed by loving hands that join bits of fabric together one piece at a time. Each quilt has a story, and this one began years ago when you made a commitment to the Marine Corps, raised your right hand, and took the oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Since then, you've served across our country and around the world. And today, the story of this quilt becomes your story through the names that strive in it, and generations to come will know your service to our nation. It is our hope that you will keep this quilt of valor with you as a reminder that there are thousands of men and women across this land who are forever in your debt. And it is our pleasure to honor you today. Each of them will receive a certificate that says the Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you. And though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America, as an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor this 10th day of December 2018.
Okay, if you ever seen a blind side, that was definitely one. I thought I set the mass art up, and I got set up myself, so thank you very much. Each year, through Wreaths Across America, millions of Americans come together to remember the fallen, honor those who serve and their families, and teach the next generation about the value of freedom. The gathering of individuals and communities in all 50 states will take place over the next week, and we are honored today to have the opportunity to host the 2018 Wreaths Across America Convoy. This year's convoy carries over 1 million Maine-made wreaths to the nation's most hallowed ground, Arlington National Cemetery. Arlington is the final resting place for more than 400,000 active duty U.S. service members, veterans, and their families. The history of Wreaths Across America goes back to 1992, when the company Worcester Wreath found themselves with a surplus of wreaths nearing the end of the holiday season. Remembering a boyhood experience in Arlington, Morrill Worcester realized he had an opportunity to honor our country's veterans. With the aid of Maine Senator Olympia Snowe, arrangements were made for the wreaths to be placed at Arlington in one of the oldest sections of the cemetery that have been receiving fewer visitors with each passing year. The annual tribute went on quietly for several years until 2005, when an iconic photo of the stones at Arlington, adorned and wreaths covered in snow, circulated around the internet. Suddenly, the project received national attention. Since then, the Wreaths Across America annual escort of handmade wreaths heading to Arlington National Cemetery has become known as the country's longest Veterans Parade. What began as a pilgrimage by the Worcester family in a single truck to deliver 5,000 wreaths in 1992 has become a national mission. Like so many locations this week across America, we are gathered today to remember our fallen veterans, honor those who serve or have served, and to teach our younger generation the value of freedom. As we proceed through our ceremony today, I would like everyone to understand the significance of the Battlefield Cross Memorial displayed in front of us. The practice of the Battlefield Cross goes back as early, if not earlier, than the American Civil War, when it was used as a means of identifying bodies on the battleground prior to removal. Over time, the Battlefield Cross Memorial took on more significance and was used as a way to provide closure for our fallen soldiers' comrades. Richard Holmes put it best in his book, Acts of War, The Behavior of Men in Battle. Proper burial of the dead, accompanied by a degree of formalized mourning, is as necessary for those who die in battle as it is for those who perish in more peaceful circumstances. Having some sort of focus for mourning is useful for the dead soldiers' comrades. The components of the Battlefield Cross each carry their own meaning. The helmet and identification tag signify the fallen soldier. The inverted rifle with bayonet signals a time for prayer, a break in the action to pay tribute to a fallen comrade. The combat boots represent the final march into battle of the fallen soldier. Today, the Battlefield Cross provides us the means to pay tribute and show respect for our fallen heroes. Behind the Battlefield Cross, we see an American flag, a symbol of the significance none need to be reminded of. This American flag has special significance to our community, as it once honored and donned the casket of a lifelong summer resident of Hampton Beach, Fred Gillen. Fred, a veteran of the Great War, whose sons Michael and John are with us today, was born in Lawrence, Mass. in 1893. Graduated from Lawrence High School in 1911 and Holy Cross College in 1915. From Holy Cross, Fred went on to Harvard Medical School, but was subsequently drafted to serve in World War I in the Navy Aviation Corps, where he flew until the end of the war. Fred returned to Harvard Law School, graduated, and practiced law until he passed away at the age of 90. The United States burial flag that was once draped the casket of Fred Gillen fittingly flies honorably as a backdrop to our Battlefield Cross. A ceremonial flag folding and presentation of the flag to Fred's sons will take place after our ceremony as a final tribute of lasting importance to Fred's family. From quilt presentation to wreath laying to flag presentation to flag folding, we show a united front as we remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and we teach our children the value of freedom. Today we ensure the lives of those who serve in uniform are remembered as we share their stories of service and sacrifice with our next generation. Our guest speaker today is Becky Christmas, Grand Marshal for the 2018 Wreaths Across America ceremony, and National President, American Gold Star Mothers. Becky will lead the caravan as it travels down the East Coast, stopping at schools, memorials, and other locations along the way to spread the mission to remember, honor, and teach. Becky lost her son Todd, an Army captain, in a helicopter crash in 2004. Becky's goal is to continue Todd's legacy and service to our country and ensure that no fallen soldier or their family is ever forgotten. Becky Christmas.
Thank you. I'm extremely honored to be here today and represent Gold Star mothers and Gold Star families across this nation. A Gold Star mother is a mother who has lost her child while serving our nation in the military, whether they were lost and killed in action or while they were serving on a daily basis, or whether they are missing in action. I became a Gold Star mother on November 29, 2004, when my son, Captain Todd Christmas, was killed in a helicopter crash, as you just heard. I'm proud to be on this journey with Wreaths Across America with my good friend, Amy Moore, who is a Gold Star wife. Her husband, Colonel Jim Moore, happened to be on the Black Hawk helicopter with Todd that day. All 7 perished. What we have seen today is wonderful patriotism. Since we left this morning and started down the roads of Maine, we saw people waving flags, smiling, clapping, hands over their hearts. It's tremendous to see the patriotism of our country, and I am so proud to be an American and to be here today. I can tell you, I realize that I am a long way from my home in Wagon Mound, New Mexico. I live along the Santa Fe Trail in northeastern New Mexico. And that trail started in Missouri and went all the way to Santa Fe, but it stopped about 20 miles from my home at Fort Union, New Mexico. Yes, I was a former teacher, so I'm going to teach a little today. The significance of that trail and that time had quite a lot of bearing on the Civil War. We just celebrated the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, and you mentioned a wonderful soldier from World War I. You've seen people wearing poppies, and we had the poppy on the poster this year for Veterans Day and all significance of World War I. I want to talk to you about a very special veteran that served in World War II, and he happens to be my father, whose 96th birthday is today. My dad, whom I just talked to briefly a little while ago, served in the Army Air Corps in World War II. And the Army Air Corps was before we had an Air Force. My dad was a crew chief on a B-17. He never talked much about his service, and he actually didn't see a lot of action like my father-in-law who served in the Pacific. But my dad, a few years ago, had some physical issues and went to live in an assisted living place along with my mother. And there, he met a wonderful man named Paul New, who was actually also a World War II veteran. And when Paul and my father began to talk, they realized that Paul was a pilot on a B-17 and flew over 30 missions out of England into Germany during World War II. And so my dad worked on those B-17s, so they thought that was quite interesting. And they began to visit, and they sat together in the dining hall, although they called it the mess hall. And they had great conversations, and Paul would repeat his stories about the war quite often because, sadly, he had dementia, but it was wonderful. He began to call my dad Captain. My dad wasn't an officer, and Paul was an officer, so we thought that was quite interesting, too. They had a great relationship, and one day, my dad was fairly well known for his rodeo days, and there was a news broadcast group that wanted to come and interview him. But when they got to the nursing home, they realized there was a better story. It was about two World War II veterans that had met each other and become very close friends in their 90s. And the importance of our veterans maintaining their friendships, their relationships, and their stories was not at all lost on the news broadcaster, and it's not lost on any of us today, because all of you veterans have stories, you have relationships, you have friendships from your time of service, but you can also make those friendships lasting throughout your entire life, just as my father has with Paul. The news broadcaster started interviewing them, and they came out wearing their World War II caps, which I had given them, and they wouldn't wear them every day. They would only wear them on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Harbor Day, significant days. They would have their meal together, and they would give a salute to each other each time they would leave the table. That relationship for my father was very, very important. It was very, very important for Paul and for all of the families that our family and Paul's family. So I tell you that story because it is important to remember our veterans, to honor our veterans, and that is what we're doing with this trip. We will be honoring those veterans that are buried in Arlington. We will remember the fallen all along the way. And I am so honored to be a part of that, and I hope each of you, in your way, will do the same, no matter where you are. Because as I said, I'm just a mom from a little place in New Mexico, and here I am speaking to all of you today, and hopefully making a difference for our veterans and for our country, and making sure that we never forget what service is and the sacrifice that comes with it. Thank you so very much.
So today we'll have both wreath laying and we'll have also flag presentations. I'd like to ask Mr. Mark Dakota to join us up here. He's here from the New Hampshire chapter, state chapter of Honor and Remember.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting us join you today. The New Hampshire chapter of Honor and Remember is grateful for the opportunity to participate in this ceremony. Our organization is committed to recognizing the more than 1 million men and women who have given their lives in service to our country from the Revolutionary War to the present day. When a service member passes away, they often leave family members who bear the burden of loss for the rest of their lives. As wars end and time passes, memories of those who are lost can often fade from our collective conscience. Events such as today, where we come together to honor and remember those who have died while serving our country, are extremely important to help keep all of us aware of those we have lost. In a minute, we will be presenting special honor and remember flags to family members of each of our 4 honorees. The flags are personalized with the name of the fallen hero, and each element of the flag represents a special aspect in the remembrance of the service member. The flag is a visible reminder of the hero for their families and everyone who sees it. Our organization is dedicated to ensuring that as many Gold Star families as possible are presented a flag. And we are committed to using the Honor and Remember flag as an enduring symbol of recognition and respect for their sacrifice across our state and our nation. To remember is to honor. Thank you.
I now ask the family members placing the wreaths and receiving flags to move to the rear of the gymnasium while Cadet Staff Sergeant Dr. Piotrowski sings Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Well, we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Detail. Halt. Ready. Face.
Now Walter Moss, escorted by Sister Karen Moss-Benz and Madison Moss, will lay a holiday wreath in memory of Private Herbert Roscoe Moss, United States Army, May 27th, 1943, World War II.
Present. Sword. Order. Sword. Hurry. Trust.
Honoring and remembering Private First Class Herbert Roscoe Moss, killed in action on May 27, 1943 in North Africa. PFC Moss was a native of Exeter and attended local schools. He worked at the Raywood Heel Company before enlisting in the Army on October 14, 1940, and he was detailed to a field artillery unit in the United States Army's First Corps. Before leaving the United States, PFC Moss trained at Fort Ethan Allen, Vermont, Camp Blanding, Florida, Graham, North Carolina, Fort Devens, Mass., Fort Benning, Georgia, and Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. He was then stationed in England and Scotland before going to North Africa with the Allied invasion troops in November 1942. The last correspondence from PFC Moss to his parents was on April 15, 1943. The second week of June 1943, his parents received a telegram from the War Department informing them that PFC Moss had been killed in action. He was 21 years old. The newspaper article stated that he was the first casualty of World War II from the town of Exeter. Originally interred in North Africa, PFC Moss's body was brought back to the United States aboard the transport ship SS Barney Kirschbaum in May 1948. On the morning of May 25th, he arrived in Exeter at the Boston and Maine Railroad Station, where a detail from the Pingree American Legion Post, town officials, friends, and family were in attendance. He was buried next to his Gold Star mother, who had passed in 1944. A year after hearing of her son's death. At the urging of membership, the name of the Pingree American Legion Post was changed in March 1950 to the Pingree Moss Post number 32 to honor the first Exeter man to fall in battle during World War II. His flag is sponsored by Comcast Veterans Network. To remember is to honor.
Now, James Allard, escorted by Cadet Second Lieutenant Jesse James, will lay a holiday wreath in memory of his father, First Lieutenant Conrad Milton Allard, United States Air Force, July 11th, 1951, Korea.
Present. Sword.
honoring and remembering Air Force First Lieutenant Conrad Milton Allard, born June 23, 1928, in Linden Center, Vermont. He was raised in Vermont and graduated from Linden Institute with the class of 1946. As soon as he reached the required age, he enlisted as an aviation cadet in the newly formed United States Air Force. Graduating from flight school in the spring of 1950, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant and posted to the advanced F-86A fighter jet. As a member of the 335th Fighter Squadron, he deployed with the rest of the 4th Fighter Interceptor Wing to Korea in November 1950. For more than 6 months, Lieutenant Allard flew combat missions against the Soviet-backed North Korean Air Force. He was lost less than a month after his 23rd birthday on July 11, 1951, over the Sea of Japan while returning to his base outside Seoul, South Korea. Lieutenant Allard left behind a widow and a 6-month-old son, Jim. His flag is also sponsored by the Comcast Veterans Network. To remember is to honor.
Detail. Attend. Cut.
Now, Richard Morguera, escorted by Diane Morguera, will lay holiday wreath in memory of Airman First Class Peter J. Morguera, their son, United States Air Force, June 25th, 1996, Kabar Towers.
Present. Sword. Order. Sword. Hurry. Right.
Honoring and remembering Airman First Class Peter J. Morguera, killed on June 25th, 1996 at Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, in a terrorist attack shortly before he was scheduled to return home. The 25-year-old flight mechanic was one of 19 American servicemen who lost their lives when a truck bomb detonated outside military housing known as the Khobar Towers in Dhahran. Peter was carrying on what was becoming a family tradition when he joined the military in 1993. His father, Richard, served in the Army in the 1960s. Two of his uncles were career Air Force, and perhaps most importantly, his younger brother, Thomas, joined the Air Force in 1991. Peter was a 1990 graduate of Exeter Area High School and was described by those who knew him as a great person, a hard worker, and someone who was always ready to lend a hand. When remembering Peter, his family and friends invariably mentioned his strong sense of community spirit and compassionate nature. He always did everything he could to help people when they needed it. One of the many ways he served the community was through teaching fire prevention at area schools. Peter had the kind of love for family and community this country is built upon, and it is individuals such as him that make this country great. Peter's memory will be one of leadership and charity. He chose not to ignore the needs of those around him, but to help meet those needs. Peter's dedication to community was the embodiment of the American ideal. People like Peter are the backbone of their communities and this nation. Airman First Class Morguera gave his life as a guardian of that community and the nation he loves so well. His flag is sponsored by Swim with a Mission. To remember is to honor.
Now, Karen Kelsey, escorted by Carl Ansbury, will lay a holiday wreath in memory of their son, Corporal Andrew A. Ansbury, United States Army, December 9th, 2015. Training exercise.
Present. Sword.
Honoring and remembering United States Army Ranger Corporal Andrew Amesbury. 3 years ago today, the Amesbury family received the tragic news of the loss of their son and brother, Corporal Andrew Amesbury, who was killed on December 9th, 2015 during a squad live fire training at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Andrew was a protector his entire life, whether it was taking care of his sister or the kids at school that were being bullied. He never ran from difficult situations, but rather chose to stand up for others when he could, sometimes with a simple act of kindness by sitting with the kid at lunch when no one else would sit with them. Andrew's mature and caring nature led him to become an amazing adult and leader. The following are excerpts from the congressional record as read on the Senate floor on December 18, 2015 by United States Senator Jeanne Shaheen. Corporal Andrew Amesbury served courageously in Afghanistan and was highly respected as a warrior and team leader with an elite Ranger unit. His battalion commander praised his caring nature and called him an exceptional Ranger leader and extraordinary man. Soldiers typically flinch from the term hero, but make no mistake, Andrew Amesbury answered the call of duty, served our nation in a time of war, and was prepared to and did make the ultimate sacrifice. If that is not heroism, I don't know what is. Corporal Amesbury represents the best of our nation. To remember is to honor.
Detail. Action. Cut.
Now, Hampton Fire Chief Jamie Ayotte and Commander Burke Bennett, United States Navy, retired, will lay an all-service and all first responder holiday wreath to honor all service members and first responders who paid the ultimate sacrifice in service of their country, and to honor the over 93,000 United States servicemen and women from all branches of the service whose last known status was either prisoners of war or missing in action. We shall not forget you.
Present. Sword. Order. Sword. Sorry. Rest.
The wreaths before you represent our commitment to remember the fallen. We also want these holiday wreaths to symbolize an honor to those who have served and are serving in the armed forces of our great nation and to their families who endure sacrifices every day on our behalf. To our students, we want you to understand the freedoms you enjoy today have not been free, but have come with a cost for both the individual and the family. As a nation standing together, strong and united, we can defeat tyranny, hatred, and injustice in our country and throughout the world. Thanks to our veterans, we have the freedom and the choice to do just that. We shall now salute the following. Professional firefighters in the Hampton pipes and drums. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of taps. Order! Arms!
Present. Sword.
Cool.
guard, post!
Aye, aye, sir. Carry! Sword! Ready! Face! Forward! March! Left! 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 Right! Left! 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 Right! Left! 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 Right! Detail! Hold! Ready! Face! Return! Sir! Dismiss!
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your busy day to honor, remember, and teach.